So back onto the seat. I've marked out, I just overlaid the template I've got, or the whatever it is, the layout. And so clamp this down with the, just cut a couple of cross pieces. So that one goes there. And then there will be a piece of angle, and the angle will come in and this will sit on that angle. So those bars there will sit top and bottom of this on the end. Got a few dags that got grind off. Anyway, and I'll have it so that you can pull them out. There'll be two pieces of angle, and that's what it'll sit on. So I'll weld these in. Again, I love my welding table. Just means everything's held where you need it to be. Alright, so I'll weld that in and we'll see how we go. I just got in and did a bit of work just to prove the principle of what I'm doing. So I've got starting to put some of the pretty work on. Mind you, these are actually doing work, these braces here. But this centre section here is not necessary for strength, because this frame is not going to be weak. I set up on the welding table and I put two of these pins in and was using that to bend. I just drew the radius I'm looking for in chalk onto the table, and it was working, but when you put a little bit of leverage on it, the whole table was moving and was constantly sliding around. So in comes my nice new vise. This is an offcut from the frame, and these are offcuts from the ends. These are these bits, the 16mm. So I just welded them onto there, and now I can bend it both ways. I can, if I hook it through like this, I can bend around in that way, but if I hook it like that, I can straighten it back out again. So all I'm doing is bending the frame. So I'm just laying it on here and lining it up with the chalk line, just to give me a reference. And then I'm just chopping these bits off, and I'm just chopping them off. So put that first bit in. I'm about that piece here is going to go into this corner here. I'm just I'm welding them on, like I'm not just tacking them, but as you can see on the back of here there's no weld, so I'll be actually welding them. And then I made that, as you can see, there's a join. There's a join here, and there's a join here. So just making this piece here as a separate piece. I think, you know, I wasn't going to try and make that whole thing in one piece, and by the time you weld it, there's nothing to be no problem. So I'm going to now weld in this piece and start making up that next middle section. So when I've done that, I've got the front and the back done. Then I'm going to put an arch around in here. That'll have to have a different radius. Well, there's the Whimsical Whim. So we got that all around, front and back. So next it'll be in the ends here. It's a bit warm. It's a little bit warm in here, but yeah, anyway. So I think it's well, starting to take shape, and maybe is a little whimsical, who knows. We'll see how it turns out. So I've decided to put these braces on the back. I've got a drawing now, not in this room, that I'm going to put 3 struts, and I'm going to lean it back at 30 degrees. And I've got this, it's more material the same as the frame, the heavy stuff. And so I want to have a compound angle. I want to have it so that it leans back at 30 degrees. So this is going to be where your back goes, here. And I also want to lean it over 30 degrees, so I kind of get a fan shape. And I'm going to make this one, this is the longest, and that goes here on the side here like that. Ooh, sort of leans over like that and back, then one straight in the middle, and then one leaning out that way. But this one's going to be longer. Well, I'm just going to go back here. The middle one, I'll probably just fan it down, just looking at the shape that I want to kind of emulate. But when I cut this out, and I just had, I V'd it out like this, and I tried to bend it. I wasn't going to bend, it gave me a hard time, so I actually cut it, because yeah, I'm going to weld it together anyway. And when I went to do it, I realised, of course, the geometry, when you do the compound, this is going to poke out here, because obviously this hypotenuse on the triangle here is longer than, if that's adjacent, if that's the angle there, this is adjacent, that's opposite, that's hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always longer, unless it's an equilateral. Well, it's not a right angle triangle then, is it? So the hypotenuse is always the longest. So if I just tried to bend it, it was going to have to try and, no wonder it wasn't going, it was trying to force all sorts of crumples. So all I've done is I've cut this, well, I've put a cut in it to let me bend it, because it was still not bending easy. I ground a little track along here to give somewhere to bend on, and I've bent that round the corner, and I will weld it like that, and then I'll just blend this in with a grinder. But this is the area that's going to be welded, so that is going to sit like that. So yeah, sorry, it's going to sit like that. And there's going to be plenty of strength. If I now have to remember that went. That goes like that. So I will weld that up, and then I'll just radius this in so I don't have a step. But this took a remarkably long time to get to bend. The first one's always the hard one. Now I understand that. The second one will be easy because it doesn't have the compound angle, so I can just V it out and bend it back straight, straight across. And then the one the other way, I'll just replicate this. But yeah, that was yeah, a lot longer than I thought it would take. Anyway, live and learn. nothing is easy. So I welded that all up with those compound angles, and it all did very nicely. But if you look at this, that puts this at an angle across here to that. I'm going to guess it's maybe 15 degrees or something. Sort of, it's a compound angle there, something like that. So it means that that isn't, this face here isn't lining up flat. Now, I could take it off. I've just got a clamp there, and cut it all up and twist it, but it's not easy to bend. And yeah, it's there for strength. No one's going to be leaning back on it. It's specifically, it's there to support the Rio. It's this stuff, this stuff here, and it can do that. And I could even maybe put a bit of contour into the back of it, so that it comes around, it comes back and around, and sort of has maybe some sort of twist to it. I could just weld it onto that and it's going to be absolutely strong enough. Maybe I could put some gussets behind it so it kind of looks like it's meant to be that way. But this is not what I didn't notice that until I actually clamped it on the back of the setup. I'm sure that people do this sort of fabrication all the time would have known that was going to happen and known the correct way to do it, but I ain't that guy. I know the tricks with machining, but I don't know the tricks with the welding and the fabrication. So I think that the amount of work it'd take, and given how hard it is to actually get the thing to bend at all, I've been cutting grooves in the back and, you know, using the 4-pound hammer and whaling into it in my nice new heavy vise. But even with that, it's hard. So I think I'm going to weld it like this. The one on the other end down there will be the same but opposite, and then when I've got it in place, and maybe I'll regret this, but when I've got it in place, I'll decide what I want to do, whether I turn it into some three-dimensional sort of bends around this way. That might be nice, might be weird to lean against. Like I said, if I just, this does give me the support I need, and this way is good, strong, because I've got these brackets, like these radiuses in there, but I don't have the radius in here yet, and I need to sort out, the legs aren't sitting perfectly on the floor. I'll deal with that when I've got everything in place, because as you weld and work on things, you bend stuff. So if I actually get in and trim this off so it's all flat now, it could come back and bite me by the time I've done more. But I can put those braces in the end here, the arch, be an arch like that, and that'll tighten it up. I'm going to make feet for this. I'm thinking I'll use offcuts of this Rio or the heavier maybe, and I'm thinking I'll just cut lengths of it, increasing length, and then weld them together, and then just grind it so that it's round. So I'll have a series of bits of this welded together to make discs, and that way it keeps the theme of the Rio. And if I just weld it on the bottom, it'll be flat on the bottom, but it'll have the ridges. It'll be fine to weld. I can use weld to fill in where I put the foot down on it, but it'll give that, you can see that Rio on the feet. I've been working away on this, so I made up the feet. They're bits of Rio, and I ground them to kind of look like toes because I thought that might be cool. And I've turning mistake into feature. I measured the angle of the back of this on the chair I'm kind of using as my sample, and I measured it up and thought it was 30 degrees. And then when we finally got, this is sleepers, they're treated pine, and I put them through behind there, the thicknesser, to dress up the this front face that you're sitting on. This was so wet that it's picked up the grain. Tried filing it, sanding it yesterday, and it was just so wet. That's what you get when you buy sleepers straight from a major hardware vendor. Anyway, but when we finally got at the point where we could sit on it, lean back, or I did, it was too far back, and I went, it was just in the back of my mind, I thought I'd measured it right, but I went back up, and the chair that I was using as my sample was at 75 degrees, and I put this at 60, like it was about 10 or 70 degrees. It was about 10 degrees further. It was like, should be 20 degrees, not 30. But then I thought, let's make a feature out of that. And I actually like this more than what I would have done. So I've just fixed up that oddball angle by putting these bits on coming out, and it's given it a three-dimensional look, which I really like actually. So we've got that at the front, and we've got this arc of material around here, and this is now rock solid. It's absolutely solid, and these are all, you know, you can get that to move a little bit, but it's as strong as you're going to have. Like this is way over engineered. So now I'm going to fill in these areas, and I'm trying to decide whether I could do fans of straight, sort of like that, very quickly, or I could try putting in more, you know, sort of swirled bits. I'll stare at it for a little longer and then decide. But this is coming along, and these sleeves are just sitting in there. There's absolutely no need to do anything to hold them in, because they're not going anywhere. So next thing is to just put in, I will attach them at the top here, and then down to these, up the top here and down to these. So we're putting in at some sort of, building that up. And I'll stare at it because I'm not 100% sure if I want more swirls or I'm happy with just a straight. Straight be quick. And it might be good, but swirly might be more whimsical. So that's where we're at the moment. This is where we've ended. We've got a bunch of curliness going across here, all I think appropriately wonky. So I reckon that's fairy garden sort of ready, with my crazy feet and all that. So it is actually not lacking in strength. It's nice and stable. So I'm very happy with the way that this turned out with the back like this, giving it a three-dimensional look. And I think it's quite reasonable to sit in. I think that there's enough going across the back that you can actually sit and lean back against it without getting cut in half. I've got my bits of timber over there, I'll put them back in again later. I'll keep taking them out so I don't burn them when I'm welding. So what remains, I think I'm kind of okay with this as a seat. Maybe I'll think about doing some stuff to make those arms wider, but I don't think that'll be necessary. And how long will people actually be sitting on this? Maybe they will. Maybe it'll be looked at rather than sat on. But I like to think that should you wish to sit on it, you could. So now we have to have our, I've got a chainsaw in the background. Now we have to put up our light post and umbrella. And then we're done. I have all of these clamps that were part of that setup that I set up at where I used to work before I used to work there. And so if I get a bit of some of the pipe, which I've got heaps of, the question is, do I use the new, someone's out the front doing a bit of whippersnipping. Yes, got lots of new pipe, and I've got these extra clamps here. That at a weather station and various other bits of scientific gear on it. But it might look a bit more in line with everything else if I use this much older pipe that's been there. I think it's strong enough. I mean, there's a lot of pitting inside. I'm not sure. Either way, I think it'll be fine. But if I get some of that pipe and weld it onto that back of that seat, I'll have to have a look at what I've got. Then I can have it so that if I do it right, and I should be able to, I can have it so that we can just undo these clasps. They clip on. I'll have to look at what I've got here. These clamp, yeah, I'll have a look at what I've got. They clamp onto these. I should be able to have it so that I can unclasp some of these and and just remove the thing for transport, but then clamp it back on nice and securely. So I'll have a look at what I've got and see what I can come up with. Getting there. So that's all routed the front of it. These boards, I think I showed these boards before. Yes, I must have. But now I'm working on the light post man, and I'm actually modelling him on me. So I've put these, I haven't welded these fully, they're tacked, but I've just attached these pipes on, and I had all of these, I think I showed you before, I had all of these connectors for fencing lying around because I did a job previously that used them, and then it was for measurements on a scientific experiment, and when this experiment was done, they don't need the stuff anymore, so I just take it home. So this pipe was all from that, and I'm actually modelling it on me. So what I'm doing is I'm doing it like I'm standing up and I'm leaning back and holding the umbrella. So I'm bending at my hip. So there's my legs, and I've measured myself to get this. And then I've held this. I've got this little umbrella for one of the grandkids. That's my model. And I held it and I measured the angles and I measured the distances. So here's my back leaning back, and that's my neck. And so it's going to be the arms. Well, I'm going to have shoulders coming out, so I'll measure the width of my shoulders and weld pipe on this way and that to get the width of the shoulders, and then this pipe here will be both the arms, and I know it's not to scale properly, but I will do it as if my well, that's going to be the rod of the umbrella, the central part of the umbrella. It's also going to be the arms, and two of these are going to be the hands, and they will clamp onto the umbrella stem. Now that's interesting. That's interesting. I might have to revisit this, but I'm going to have the umbrella will come down to about here. In perspective, that's where, but the umbrella, base of the umbrella is going to be more like up here, So I'll put a rod. I'll put a piece of Rio from there up, and then I will have it so you can remove the umbrella. It'll just sit down over this rod. So the rod welded onto here will support the base of the umbrella and stop the umbrella from all this sort of stuff. And then the arms will come out, like the shoulders will come out either way, this way. So the shoulders will be out here and here, and then the arms will come out and in, well, out and then back in. And I want the stem of the umbrella to be held by two of these, and these are going to be the hands. So I need to work out how to make that work. I definitely want it to be removable. Maybe I'll make a bit of the bottom of the pipe into something of a handle at the base rather than having it all the way up, because if I go all the way up with that pipe, firstly it's not going to be in the correct sort of scale, and secondly my hands aren't going to work as well. So yep, I think that's what I'll do. I'll have it so I'll use a bit of that pipe to look like the base of the handle, and the main stem will be out of Rio. Yeah, I'm actually looking at that radio, but you may not have been able to see that. I also ran an experiment. A mate of mine, Pete, if you ever watch this, he's in the band, he plays trumpet as well. He's in the band that I'm in. And he builds a lot of very interesting stuff. Actually, if you remember, I made some rollers. Well, you probably won't, but I did. I made some rollers for him for a planer to square up material that he wants that's the rough twisted material to get it square timber. And actually he's got that running and it works quite well from what I can tell. Anyway, he's made some really interesting nice table out of the base out of car springs and stuff. And he was saying he seals up with this. So it's there we go, ad for Rust-Oleum. And he's had good luck with it. So I wanted this to have a look of the, still the rusty look. I'll come outside so you can see better. But I don't want it to be too shiny. So there's the untreated end, or unpainted end, and there's the painted end. And you can see that it's still got all of that look to it. But it's sealed. So I will paint all of this to be like that rather than like that. And to do this, I've wire brushed it. I've got my wire brush down there for when you're welding. This bit here is pretty ordinary looking, but that's part of what I want. And I've just taken all the flaky stuff off and I'll paint that. And so I'm hoping that, yeah, it should all look pretty good. So thanks Pete for your helpful advice. And I think I'll leave this gal. I've got gal spray, so when I'm finished I'll gal spray all of this where I've been working on it. So this is all tacked in place, and now I'm going to, next I'll put the shoulders on and then start working on this whole section. I'll be using, I think I'll be turning up some bits in my lathe to allow me to adapt things. This is when it's really good to have a lathe. So anyway, let's get on with this. Right, so more work than you'd expect to get to this, but there it is. So that's all based on my measurements. We start to see a figure appear. So the next bit will be to get something in place down here, or around here somewhere, or sorry, down here, get something in place down here or around here somewhere that starts to get the umbrella held. And then once I've got the where the umbrella should be worked out, and get some rod there, like up here, I can effectively clamp the arms on, the hands, onto that, and then connect it back to the elbows, and I'll cut the elbows when I know when I've got it properly dimensioned the other way. Yeah, I want to start from the other end. Now I've got this, I want to start from the other end of the umbrella and work back. and then just join the two that way. All right, it's a warm one. It's Christmas in Australia, and I think, I don't know, we're up around 30 degrees centigrade. Don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's warm in this room, I can tell you that much. Anyway, let's see how we go. So now tacked together, well, partly welded, but I've got this bit of rod currently tacked onto the bottom to make sure that if I need to support it, I can. It's possible that it'll be strong enough. These will be good welds. I kind of feel like it's most likely I want to support the bottom of it, but that is now looking a bit like a man, sort of. And I think these work well as hands. So I've got a bit of cleaning up to do. This here is a case of good grinding over good welding, but make a head, and I'm thinking that I can have it so I can weld a piece of stuff here, put a collar on it, and the bottom of you can make an extra long centre for the umbrella, and it can sit down into a bit down there, just have a long umbrella centre and have it going down into that. So a collar down there, but we'll see. Like at the moment with this all bolted up, this is all warm, but very, very, very strong. How strong it is when you take this bit of rod out, I will find out when I take the bit of rod out. But I feel like it's sort of starting to take shape. Well, now I'm getting to the pointy end of this. So we've got, this is going to be the umbrella. I'm going to make it out of this 5/8 Rio. And then make the umbrella arms, or whatever what you could call them, out of the slightly smaller Rio. You can see that that's actually noticeably smaller. So I'm very happy with this. This is really nice and firm. I've got a nice triangle. If I've got this anchored at the bottom here, I've effectively got a triangle that goes up, out and down. So it goes out, across and down, which makes that a really nice, strong, that even beefs up the way it locks in at the bottom. So the whole thing is nice and strong. But I don't want to weld that, because I want to be able to take, for transport, I want to take this light post man off. So I'm going to weld this like it's the handle onto here and drill in on the end of that, and then I'll put a countersunk hole tapped in here so that I can screw in. I've got stainless steel, probably M6, M5 cap screws, no, countersink head screws, stainless steel. So that'll mean that I can take this umbrella out. So to do that, I will drill a hole in the end of here to suit the rod. This was slightly, I don't have a 17mm drill, I've got a 16. So I just ground down that outside of that, that should fit. So I need to put a 16mm hole down the centre of here. Years and years ago, or I don't know, 8 years ago or something, I bought a little lathe, and I think it almost perplexed Narelle, who this thing's for. She was quite confused as to why anyone would want a lathe. Well, I will show you just one example of where a lathe is handy. So this is a lathe here, and I will turn on some lights. So this lathe, I put this into here and clamp it other way round, because I want that bit at the bottom. I want the chrome. This is an offcut. When I got my toolbox that I refurbished over there, the red toolbox, there was some junk in some of the drawers, and I haven't thrown it all away yet. But this is a gas strut from the suspension of a car, and there was a few of them, but this makes good stock for making stuff. So I didn't chuck it away, although I have chucked it up. Because that's a chuck. That's a pretty funny joke, eh? Anyway, so that is able to be put in there, and I can put a drill in here and drill a hole into that. So I will do that. Okay, a little bit of tidy up to do, but basically that's going to fit. And the idea is that this, now you can see it's not quite on centre, side's bigger than that. And if there was anything mechanically important, I would worry about that and would have trued it up. Obviously the end of that's a little out of square. I was holding in the chuck here, and it obviously wasn't square, but anyway. So I'm going to cut this weld off here, which I use basically when I was putting this together. It's a matter of order of operations. So I welded on effectively the shoulders, and then I welded on the, I guess, biceps, that, whatever that part of the arm's called, and then I welded this onto here and clamped these on, and then got it so that these were, cut these and the angles here to suit what was here. So this part here had to, this weld here, the elbow had to be the last, because this is a fixed point that I wanted, and that's a fixed point that I wanted. So I just had to join these two together to get them right. So now I've got that, I can grind this off. I just use this bit of rod, shorter rod, as a placeholder, and that is, like I said before, that's really holding it good, really nice and strong. And that'll be, the umbrella will be well supported. So what I do need to do now is loosen these off, grind that off. Well, yeah, and put this in and drop that on, this here part in, and tighten it with that, and then weld this on wherever that falls. And that way it'll be, and I'm thinking this is going to look like the handle of the umbrella. It's going to be a very long umbrella stem, because I'm going to have it going up to about here. Well, I'm going to have it going up about here to miss the head that I've got to make. But that's going to all come up really nice, I think. Well, there's the handle effectively welded on, and I was thinking of doing a countersink and having it so it's locked, but seriously, this is, with these two clamped and that on there, it's adding nothing. It's absolutely fine. So that's going to be the base of the umbrella. So now it's time to look at this. I'm working out, maybe I'll make the head first, so that then I know exactly what's what when I do the umbrella. I'm also thinking that I might bend the umbrella stem. I'll keep it straight down here, so that I don't have any worry about that. Oh, that's warm. I just welded it. But if I bent this sort of out and up, sort of some bit of a, it might make it a little bit more, you know, in line with all the curviness down here. But yeah, if I keep it straight from the bottom up to here, then that means I don't have any trouble with this business. And maybe, I don't know, maybe have it so it curved over and then up, sort of like that. Maybe. Something like that. I'll have a think and see where we end up. Starting to take shape. So, lamp combined with human sort of dimensions, I think. I've bent the umbrella base. To do the head, I checked with ChatGPT actually about dimensions. So this is 250 high and 200 wide, a third down. So I just sketched that out, and then by the time you bend the radiuses, hang on, I'll go around to the side where the light isn't interfering. So to bend it, this is about a third here, and that's sort of like your bottom of your forehead, and then down to here, that's sort of below the nose, and this is the chin. So it's more or less 250 by 200. And I've been assured by my daughter that it still looks lampy as well as persony. So I'll just have to take her word for it, and I figure, you know, going for these sort of curves on the umbrella centre rod is in the spirit of all of this stuff here. So we've got the Rio all the way through and then up and into the head and the umbrella. So I think that gives us a theme that ties it all together. And it's nearly done. So what I've done, I just drew up, I'm using this little umbrella here as a model for the dimensions of the umbrella, and I just marked out using the one piece over and over again, one piece of cardboard. So basically I'm bending 8 of these. I've bent 4, and then I'll cut straight pieces to support them. And I've got in my head a way of getting everything held while I weld it all, but we are getting close. Yes, it's starting to take shape. Finally here, so it's all properly welded up. I've scuffed it down with wire brush. Well, my wife gave me a bit of hand with that, but squirted it with this. Ended up using 2 cans of this. I've properly supported these. These were weren't really robustly welded, so I just put Rio on either side to give it more support and welded that up. And I'm fairly happy actually with the way that finish has come up. It's not, this is not fully, well, it's pretty dry. I did it about, I don't know, 3 hours ago or something. I mean, I've done a few attempts at it. Most of it was done, I don't know, 8 hours ago, 9 hours ago. But there's a few bits being touched up. But that, to me, looks like it's pretty well covered. And it's gone this sort of black, almost black, well, dark brown, but you can still see, you know, things like this, you can still see the patina in it all. And you know, it's got the homemade everything hand belt bent thing going, and I've deliberately not dressed up the welds. I wanted to leave them to give this a sort of rough look. I mean, most of the welds look all right. And we go out into the glaring sunlight. This is the upside down umbrella, and here's the finished lamppost. So it's all set to be delivered tomorrow, so I chose not to show you it all at this stage together. We can do the big reveal, and who knows, I might see if I can catch the excitement. You know, we could clickbait it all up and spike the beginning of it with will she like it and all this sort of stuff, or not. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with. And again, I didn't fully weld up the elbows, as it were. It's all gal. I've sprayed the clear on all these bits. I did have to grind that because it was pretty disgusting welding. But yeah, that's a bit of a bodge weld, but you know, it's strong enough. So as you can see, yeah, I've deliberately designed it so that these just hook onto the clamps that go onto those pipes on the back of so that means that can come off. This comes out, this umbrella comes out, so it all will fit in the car. I've got my ute, so yes, it's all designed. The length of this is about 70mm shorter than the tray, and it all should fit height wise. Might be interesting getting this out the door. Should be alright if we rotate it a little bit. 800 wide. Yeah. Well, if we lean this bit over, we'll be able to get it out. That'd be pretty horrendous, wouldn't it? Build it all and then can't get out of the room. But there you go. And when I get this out, look at all this grinding dust, just completely covered. I haven't been vacuuming and whatever, so we got dust everywhere because this was a lot of work and a lot of grinding. And so when this goes out tomorrow, I will get all the space back and I can clean it all up. So anyway, next you should be able to see the big reveal. It is in situ, out in the sun, that there's a tree will grow up over the back of it here. So there we go. And here is Narelle, that's 4. Now you can go and have a sit on it.
I can go and have a sit on it. I'll ruin you at work though. There you go. Look at this. Isn't it brilliant? Isn't it absolutely? I should sit under the umbrella. Sorry.
Watch your head.
It is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It was cheeky to ask for, and I didn't expect anything like this. I love it. I love it. I love it. I really do. Thank you.
Righto, that'll do.